Hello and welcome to PM Personality Profile. My name is Nana Nsakwa, the fourth Chief of the Little Republic of Akomwe-Dumasa, and today I have a beautiful story, one that will inspire many, one that lots of you would relate to. I mean, the issue of, grass to graze story, cuts across in many ways. But every now and then you meet that one that makes you feel that all hasn't finished and that there's hope. So that a little boy growing up in a polygamous home in Nungwa Zongo, where even girl child education may not have even been regarded, born in special circumstances and the very, very difficult economic circumstances, but somehow never saw himself as deprived. Always gave thanks to God that, I can see, I can walk, and I'll strive and strive and strive until he becomes the best graduating student in neurosurgery in West Africa. I mean, that's a milestone, considering that he had to check himself through school, through university. Against all odds, he believed that it will work out well. So I know somebody's watching me and you think that, my circumstances are much better than this. And you are exactly the one this story is for. So when I come from the break, we are talking to Dr. Hadi Abdullah Mohammed. You find out how it is that today he's the best graduating neurosurgeon in West Africa. And that's a feat to chalk. Don't go away. We're coming back. Well, thank you very much for staying, and I'm sure by the intro you are by now quite keen to hear the story. But Doc, first of all, let me say congratulations.
Thank you.
And in this world there are two things that we used to measure intelligence: rocket science and neurosurgeon. And not only are you just a neurosurgeon, but the best in West Africa. We're graduating in West Africa, so I mean, as far as the yardstick goes, you smashed it.
Oh, so thank you.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you. And I just thank God I was able to live my childhood dream.
Yes.
It was really a dream. Yes. And I had two big dreams. And neurosurgery was one of them. Second was my wife. Yes, I wanted to marry a beauty queen. Those were lofty dreams at the time, but I think I've been able to achieve it, and I can only thank God.
Beauty queen and doctor.
Yes.
Well, that was a lofty dream. Yeah. But Doc, I want to go back to Zongo in Nungwa Zongo. Now I know there wasn't any silver spoon then, but just paint a picture to us what it was like.
So Nungwa Zongo is a compact community, very small. I think among the Zongos in Ghana, probably the smallest. And growing up, I had a lot of friends, which I'll call childhood friends, but three of them were who were very close to me. Unfortunately, the smoking of weed was very rampant there. As to how God protected me from engaging in it, I still can't believe.
Because everybody was doing it.
As to why I didn't engage in sex at early age to even impregnate a young girl, it's only God, and most of us dreamt about going to Europe at the time. So we always went through a map which taught us how to go by road to Europe, through Libya, somehow to go through Nigeria, and then you ended up in Gambia or Senegal. Wow. And you keep going till you finally reach Europe. So I lost two of my closest friends at the time who tried to do that, and we had nothing like proper teaching or schooling. So even though we had opportunity to go to school, when you came back from school, you either go and play football or during the dry season, for example, then we go on walk or hunting for bela. So, which was like bush, we call it bush mounts. And we did that every evening. So I didn't know anything about reading books. No, I just go to school, come and put the books down, and you go to bela, you go and play football. Or you sit at the base and think through as to how you could end up in Europe. And but with time, without seeing a neurosurgeon, then I heard of Dr. Mustafa. People called him the mystical Mustafa because it's believed that he was the first neurosurgeon in Ghana and probably sub-Saharan Africa. And it was unbelievable to Ghanaians that at that time somebody could open the brain and operate on it. So then I said, oh, I can also be a neurosurgeon.
From the
yeah,
Zongo?
From that time, yeah. I said, oh, I can also be. I didn't even know Korle-Bu. I traveled to Accra. Zongo is not actually far from Accra Central. But the first time I traveled to Accra was when I was in secondary school, when my school brought me to the Accra Sports Stadium to play table tennis. I was quite gifted in table tennis as well. That was my first trip to Accra.
Oh, that was you just stayed in.
Yeah, I was just in the Zongo, and Greda Estate, Spinters were all bush. So that's where we did most of our hunting. Some of us nearly died. I quite remember one incident where one of us fell into a gutter because we were trying to catch a crab, and he ended up being accidentally stabbed by a broken bottle. Oof. I still remember it fresh today. My other friend who was trying to go to Italy was lurking around Tema Harbor, which most of us did at the time. So when he got to Tema Harbor, he tried to jump into one of the ships, and then the security men were prompted. Unfortunately, he jumped into the water, and I never saw him again.
Wow.
I never saw him again. And for years, I have certain pictures here where I always wear the chain he gave me. Actually gave me a chain before going. We really had no hope. We really had no hope. We had no one to look up to. The girls were not attending school. The young guys who attended school could not make it somehow to go Nigeria. And if people are listening, there was some time ago we heard Ghanaian youth who were burnt in Nigeria somewhere in
they put the tie
in the 80s. Yes.
Yeah, they put the tie around them.
Yeah, they were from my community. They were from and I still remember it vividly when the news came. All because we didn't have hope, so we had to try to go to Europe. You know.
So I mean, what kept you? Amafo, yeah.
Yes, Amafo, yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, what kept you going through when all these things are happening? Life and survival. I mean, I thought you'd have just left school and said, "Look, let me also go and try my luck."
Yeah, I mean, for me at the time, the fact that I could sit in a classroom and be sacked school fees, it was a privilege. It was a privilege. So to be honest and to be fair, I never saw myself as a deprived student, even though people saw me as deprived. I'll give you a typical example where I was coming from school, and my school was near the Nungwa beach. So I walked from the beach, crossed the road. I lost friends on that road trying to cross the Nungwa main road. They were hit by a car. They died, some in front of me. And that was the journey I had to go through every day with other friends. So I was passing through Teaching Estate, and then one lady saw me. My shorts had a big tear, so she called me and said, "What is wrong? Don't you have shorts?" I said, "Oh, this is all I have. We patch it and go." So she saw me holding a paper, and it was my exams paper, marked paper. And then she went through and she saw 100, 100, 100. So she was impressed. This lady entered her house. She's called Madam Koshigan, somewhere Teaching Estate. And then she picked the son's trunk full of clothing, and she gave it to me. So I met people like that along the way, you know. And what that told me at the time is that all I needed to do was to read. Borrow people's book, read. Once you read, people will help you. And truth be told, I had teachers paying my fees. They wouldn't allow me to be sacked to go home without writing exams.
Because you were too good.
Yeah. So they paid my fees. Some went as far as they could, even solicit for funds from some external family members that they thought were rich. So for me, the opportunity to go to school was really a great privilege. And I think that helped me, seeing that as an opportunity and not always telling myself that, oh, I'm deprived, I don't have my, because I didn't look up to other people. I didn't say that, oh, this person had this and I don't have that. One example was you know, we used to go to Teaching Estate to weed people's homes, and that's how we also got some money. So you go and knock the gates, and when they come out, you ask them or press the bell. You ask whether, oh baby, I'll better. And now we feel no afua, and then we weed and make money. So one day I was weeding, and there was one girl in my class that I admire so much, and I saw her coming. The moment I saw her, I had to like abandon
the job.
Yeah, I had to abandon the job for all that I had done. But yeah, we survived on that. There were a few occasions I had to hunt bela and eat from it. I had to sell togbe, you know, visit people, and those were good opportunities because they offered me opportunity to make some money, having grown through 83 and seeing what had happened. So honestly, if you hear my story, you may think that I was deprived, but I never felt deprived.
Your mom married young.
Yes, at the age of 16 years.
Wow.
Yes.
You know, from a community where schooling was, I mean, was mom just, look, do what you can do, or was she encouraging the world?
Oh, she actually put me in school. She actually put me in school, and she wanted to go to school, but she needed to obey her father. So she encouraged me. She even taught me how to write 1, 2, 3 when I was young. They pulled her from primary school though, and but at a point,
is she alive?
She's still alive.
Oh my God, she must be the proudest.
Yeah.
Hajia in
I tell you, you know, and
she must be the proudest mom.
She really went through a lot. You know, my half siblings were all older than her.
Yes, of course, because she was quite young.
So she lost her first child on the day of the outdooring. When the outdooring was going on, someone actually prompted her that the child is gone. And she told me she had to run into the bushes around Spinters those days to pluck mango and eat during her pregnancy because she didn't want to be beaten by my half siblings, you know. And so I think the child didn't grow very well, and she lost the child. But later on, she went ahead to have 4 of us. So we ended up with my other siblings, half siblings, being 12 in the family. But she kept me going. There were times I did rehearsal. During school days, I was always acting as well. So when I was given some role to play, she did rehearsals with me. In JSS, it was just too difficult for her. She couldn't continue anymore. And that is when I took the decision to to do some jobs to take me through, and then with the help of teachers I was able to complete GSS. Then I went to secondary school, in Ungwa Secondary School. In Ungwa Secondary School, I wanted to be in the boarding house because of the community I was coming from. I could have walked from home to school, but my mom said no, that would be pretty difficult. So whilst waiting for the results to come, whether my boarding house was going to be approved, I went to teach a bit, had about 2,000 cedis, which I think is 20 pesos now. That was somewhere. So then I bought plywood and some wood, and then I created a table tennis board and was playing and teaching people and hiring it to people to play. So I made a lot of money. In fact, my junior brother benefited from that. You
business. Actually passed the business
on? To him. So, and then finally when I ended in the boarding house, I collected pamphlets from some artists of science books, and I was selling it for them and making some money.
So it was always constant survival?
Yeah. And likely because academically I was good and doing what you know in school, and I was also a sports person.
Which sport did you do?
I played table tennis and football.
Okay.
So table tennis was my strongest game. Actually, my 7 years throughout university education, nobody beat me.
I see.
So recently somebody told me that he went to Accra Sports Stadium, a doctor, and they asked him whether he knows the pen god. I play with the pen, which was quite unorthodox, yeah. And yeah, so in Ungwa Secondary School, I survived on that. There were times I slept in the lab, and probably other students will start looking at that. So I was doing a lot of laboratory work within the lab. So at night you come to the dormitory, you won't find me there. I was doing all kinds of experiments in the lab because we had access to. And I must say that Ungwa Secondary School, it may, on the face of it, may look like a less privileged school, but with what I had there, I felt it was a good school. And whilst I began to see students from other places coming to receive tuition from my teachers, I knew that the teachers were very good.
But see, by all this time, you knew you wanted to be a doctor, to the point where your friends sarcastically called you doctor.
Doctor, yeah.
With his own guys over here, doctor.
Yeah,
you know, that doctor.
University of Krano Obi, so it was like, how can you become
a doctor?
Become a doctor.
But you never relented.
No. My eyes were always on the ball, and it wasn't just my friends, some family members, but even in Legon, when I came to Legon, and in Legon, we had a system where you had to do 2 years, and then based on your grade points, you qualified for an interview, and then they pick you. And I had people always telling me in my face, no way, you are not going, even if you get grade 4.0, you make it. And they gave me examples of people who made it and had very good grade points and couldn't make it. So me, I don't have anybody from back front like the Nigerians always put it. You don't have anybody to even go and push it for you. And people went to the medical school on protocol list. But God being so good, I just decided, look, I was going to stay focused. So even though I played football for my hall, because that is what actually gave me the chance to be in the Kwafo and be given accommodation, I had to play football. But I felt as a science student, I still had to read. So I'll go and train, play football, play table tennis, and then come back and study. And I kept studying.
From afar, people will not take you seriously. Football, table tennis.
Oh yeah.
Or better science.
Yeah, even some of the school team players, because at a point I even captained the school team. And so when they heard I'd been admitted into medical school, they were all shocked, especially looking at my background, that I didn't have anybody to speak for me. But I knew my best shot was to do very well. So once the ladies from Gehe kept encouraging me. I was having discussion with them. I felt I was good enough, so it pushed me. And I had a very good grade point, 3.98.
Now, the Gehe story. So here you are from Nungwa, quoted unquote, not so privileged school.
Yes.
You've come to Legon, which is, you know, obviously the Harvard of Ghana.
I tell you.
People come from Gehe and can say, oh, please come and teach us.
I tell you.
So, I mean, that's a confident boost. I say,
I'm telling you.
If I can teach you people, then,
exactly.
then I must be good enough.
And at that time, I didn't, you know, those gay girls, wow. I didn't even know what hugging was. And I was like, and they see you, they want to hug you. You know, for me, it was like, hey, hi. All those things were very new to me.
Wow.
They were I didn't know about all those things. So I was, even though I was growing up in Accra, I was like a village boy who, you know, but they really boosted my chances. And I rode on that to achieve that mission into the medical school. I was very confident the moment they approached me and said, we wanted you to be part of our group. It really, really played a significant role. Yeah.
But you see, I'm listening to your story, and basically all throughout school, you are literally looking after yourself through school.
Yeah.
But medical school is a different ball game.
Yeah.
Ghana medical school fees is not for the faint-hearted.
No.
You know, so, I mean, how are you going to manage it? By then, some scholarship, something came, or how are you going to check yourself?
Yeah, it will shock you. I never benefited from any of the scholarships.
Wow.
I had this distinction 10 once in JHS. I was never given distinction, scholarship. In my secondary school.
You have to write to maybe you have, there's some overdue scholarship.
Yeah, maybe like what happened to Ramana.
You have to write. Maybe
and I was a sportsman. I did sports.
Wow.
I was representing the school. So it was weird even to some of the teachers as to why I wasn't on scholarship. So anytime I was sacked school fees, they all got, I mean, it was surprising to them. In the medical school, what I did was I picked that mail letter with a stamp for internet email, yeah, and wrote a letter, an invitation letter somehow, and applied for a visa to the UK, and then I had a visa.
Let me take a break here.
Yeah.
And then when we come back, we find out how it is that doctor sees himself through medical school. Don't go away. Well, thank you very much for staying, and thank you very much for paying attention, because I know this is what you call a life-changing story. Doc, thank you again, and we're looking at how you're going to check yourself through medical school, because I know their schedule is very grueling. Fees are very expensive, and it's not for the faint-hearted. So, okay, so now you've gotten yourself an airmail. For those of you who don't know an airmail, it was a light blue paper which folded to become an envelope.
Yes. So you can write an invitation.
You can write your letter in folds and somehow called an email.
Yes.
So you get your visa?
Yeah, so then I borrowed money from my sister and then one other lady who gave me, I think, 50 euros. And Ghana Airways was operating then, so they had some discount ticket for students. Yeah, then I decided to go. And I remember one of my uncles who had gone through Libya asked me not to go. I said, but you went through Libya and
you've walked in this
and me, I'm going to sit in an aircraft. He said I shouldn't go. I said, oh, don't worry, we'll survive, because I need to pay my fees, you know. And so he said, well, there's nothing I can do. You want to go, so go. I said, don't worry, I'll survive. So the plane landed in Heathrow.
But so who was your contact? Who did you know?
I didn't have anybody.
Hey.
I didn't have anybody.
You just arrived?
Yeah, but we've survived difficult moment here, and so for me, landing in Europe and not knowing anybody, the only mistake I did then was that I didn't buy a jacket. I was so naive. So I went with a t-shirt and a small backpack. And then when I landed, quickly went through the immigration, because some of my friends had already started trying to put fear in me. They could deport me and all that if nobody comes to pick me. The good thing is that I could speak. So once I spoke and got my way out of the airport, took a train, and then I landed somewhere in Croydon. So in Croydon, I saw this black guy I thought could be a Ghanaian. Likely was a Ghanaian. He picked me to his house. I stayed with him for 3 days, but the room was too small. He had a girlfriend, and I thought I was disturbing him. I then been left with only 30 pounds. So I called some few friends, and they told me, oh, there's a place in northern England, in the border between England and Wales, called Telford, which was an industrial city. When I go there, I'll get jobs. So I decided to take the train to Telford. So when I got to Telford, I contacted a few guys there by speaking to people, and then they told me there was this Ghanaian who could give me a place to rent. So I rented a house with 3 other guys, and we're paying £250 a week. But that day I was able to go to work. I worked in a bakery, and that was the beginning of several journeys to England. So for 7 years I was going to England. I never knew how London looked like. I did not know Trafalgar Square, Buckingham Palace, all those places. The moment I land straight to England, I work. We're working for almost 20 hours a week. Wow. Yeah, shifts. That's what, because I needed to make money, pay for the ticket, and then pay my fees, you know. But you agree with me that was some privilege as compared to all other Zongo boys who were growing up in my area. And so that's how I predominantly sponsored my education. So my principle in medical school then was that, look, I have to pass. I wasn't chasing prices and all that, because usually I have to stay 2 weeks after reopening of school, because 1 month wasn't enough to even break even. So I stayed 2 weeks. So I missed some lectures during that period, and you come and you have to try and like cover. So people used to call me, oh, they open Jiko, like Jiko Didi. Like, you know, you just pass mark and you were gone. But yeah, once I managed to finish, I felt that it was time then to chase the neurosurgery dream.
Wow. But let's talk about, the rebel side in you, because as gentle as you are, I mean, there was a situation of brain drain, yes, which was very unfair for Mother Ghana, God say. And you stood your ground. I mean, what's the story there? Yeah,
so I completed medical school in 2005, and then the salaries of newly qualified doctors was 150 Ghana cedis. Wow. Which was around $150. And then the consultant and specialist were taking between 200 to 250, which was around $250. And whilst in school, final year, the issue then was that when you should start buying your USMLE exam. So the moment you pass, you write and go. So that was what was pertaining. And so without the support of the Ghana Medical Association, I led a group of young doctors at the time to embark on a strike action. We were calling for better remuneration, because we had then the ADHA, which has been cancelled. And so most doctors could not even support their family. You can imagine. Doctors' kids were sacked school fees in this country at the time. Some couldn't even pay their electricity bill. Doctors. And that is what actually ushered me into the media limelight. And prior to me, doctors were not used to speaking to the media, but I engaged the media extensively during that time, trying to make a point until the time that President Kufuor then invited me to the castle and subsequently to his house, where we had an extensive negotiation, and I insisted that we should be paid $2,000 at the time, which they thought the economy couldn't support it at the time. But eventually, I stood on my ground. We finally ended being given around 1,670 Ghana cedi, which was around $1,700, from $150 to 1,700 for a newly qualified doctor, and that was a big gap.
Wow.
And then teachers followed, nurses, pharmacists.
See, it was all your fault.
Yeah, and so I was never forgiven. But if you ask me, I will repeat that today, because by doing that, we saved this country. Because at the time we did that, every medical student dreamt of going to England. And even for me, when I passed the exam, I still had to go to England to work for 6 months before coming back. So it was so rampant that we had only 1 or 2 people from a graduating class stay in the country. It got to a point that it was said that the Ghanaian doctors in New York alone were more than the doctors, Ghanaian doctors living in Ghana.
Wow.
But that changed the game. It was very significant, even though people would try to underestimate that. But it changed the game. And other junior doctors prior to me had fought for a car waiver also for junior doctors, which also helped. And then the coming of the Ghana College. All these things helped to get people to stay. So without being boastful, I would think that I contributed significantly to labor in this country, to the salaries that all of us probably are earning today, the salary levels, because you can imagine what a police officer took at the time. And the fact that about 80% of my class stayed in this country.
Wow.
And we had one of the highest number of those who stayed and specialized in this country. And we've managed to reverse the trend. Unfortunately, we virtually lost that. I mean, even a specialist now taking around $1,000 in Ghana as salary. So you realize that with the exchange rate and inflation, all these things have gone back. And with what happened to me, I was prevented from specializing. Some of the young, brilliant guys who were also in leadership position fled this country because they thought they wouldn't be allowed to do their program. I
mean, you got so frustrated, you decided to go and do law?
Yeah, because I wrote the entry exams to start my postgraduate program. I passed the exam, went for interview, I passed, and that has been confirmed by a state official now, that for that particular exams and interview, I topped, I was the #1. And when I left the interview room, the panelists, including government officials, said that, hell no, we are not going to allow this guy to do the program. So I spoke to a few guys in the ministry as to why they wouldn't allow me, because I thought I was good enough to start. And then, so yeah, they said, you are disrespectful, you are arrogant, you are radical, you were causing problems within the health sector, and your presence, even in the profession, was not healthy for labor. So people didn't think that I was, so they wanted to actually kick me out. And then Dr. Honorable Koshiga, may so rest in peace, then offered me a scholarship to go to Israel and train there. And I declined, and I told him that Ghana belongs to all of us. I will not allow a few people to prevent me from going and from doing my program. I will stay here and fight for it. But I fought for it, it wasn't working. So then I decided to leave and go and read law. So I wrote the exams, and I passed, and then started law in Legon. Unfortunately, I was sponsoring my junior sister and brother in school. so it was a bit difficult. And I felt that I had become a doctor, so I needed to work hard for them. So, and then somehow people like Prof. Hesse, Dr. Mutawakilu, Idris, who is my mentor, and one neurosurgeon who has trained virtually all of us. Out of the 17 neurosurgeons, he's trained about 11 of us. So he came encouraging my wife. I was then married, telling her that, look, neurosurgery is what this guy should do, not law. So they kept encouraging me, and then there was change in government, and the rector of the college was removed. I reapplied, and then I was picked to read neurosurgery. So I completed neurosurgery after 3 years of training, and then decided to pursue neurosurgery, which took me between 4 to 5 years. And yeah, it was pretty difficult.
Wow.
Pretty
Wow.
difficult. For the first time in my life, there were times I felt like giving up. It was so difficult. And for the first time, they had introduced writing of a book or a dissertation also into the program, which didn't exist in the past. But eventually, that is what got me the award. I had to research, write proposals, do presentations virtually every week, take these kids to school, and it was pretty difficult, but I'm happy I was able to achieve that.
I was going to talk about your wife, but we'll come back there.
Yeah.
You did a research on if reoccurrence of bleeding in the brain can be predicted.
Yes.
Couldn't you have chosen an easier?
Yeah, I had difficulty with that topic. Yeah.
Couldn't you have chosen something a bit?
Difficulty. Some actually wrote it off. I mean, you can't do this. It's not researchable. But I read several articles, almost 500 articles, and I felt there was a gap. There was the need to research into that, and I had a firm belief that we could predict. So I set up some variables. I look at those who are hypertensive, diabetics, those who were on some form of drugs called anticoagulant, and then for older folks who had who were on like alcohol, those who were on alcohol, because alcohol tend to like shrink the brain, you know. So I felt it could create a space. So I look at all these parameters, and those who were coming with bleed, whether if you had these conditions, we could actually predict using statistical analysis, whether we could actually predict that you, and at the end, yes, I was able to get one of them, which predicted. And I must say, at the exams, they gave me standing ovation, and it's quite rare to pass that exams and pass the dissertation as well. It's a very long exam. It takes almost the whole day. From start, I think it's about 2 weeks. You write essays, right? Do MCQs, and then you go to clinical exams where they give you a patient. You talk to the patient, and then these examiners from all over West Africa, a crack team, they come and examine you because you are trying to be like them. So, and once they believe that once you pass, you may not get any supervision again. So your chances of passing is slim as compared to medical school exams where they give you benefit of that. So I was examining that, then they examined with other 10 other patients, and then after that I had to go and defend my thesis.
Wow.
And luckily I was the only one who had a straight pass. So I passed all these essays and the dissertation as well.
All the way
so
from
that was responsible.
All the way from Zongo. Now this is one aspect of the dream. So the second aspect of the dream was getting married to a beauty queen, which
Yeah.
Man, you definitely nailed it.
Yeah.
You definitely nailed
Yeah.
it. I'm sure the camera would pick you up and put you on the screen for you to see what I'm talking about. So how did Madam Beauty Queen come in the picture?
Yeah, come back for one of those trips in UK. She had just... So the dream was that I should marry somebody who was from home, from the north, well cultured, and by the same time the person should also be a beauty queen.
You're not giving God easy
Yeah,
options.
a fair option.
I'm telling you, your guardian angel must be working overtime. Say, hey, my friend, why?
So she had then arrived from Boku. She had also lost her dad, so she came to Accra to school. And I saw her. Of course, she looked like somebody from the village, but naturally beautiful. So I just told myself, no, this is my wife. That was the belief. I then told my cousins who were there that I think this lady will be my wife, and they didn't believe it. They thought, oh, this girl is like a villager. How can she be your wife? You are in medical school now. And I said, no, I think she will be, especially from where she's coming from. They are well cultured. You know, after some time, I was watching TV. Then I saw her on the runway competing for this program they call Model of the Universe program. And I said, wow, I said it. This girl was going to be mine. So I became focused. And from my story, I realized that if I want to, so I became really focused and did everything that I could, because I felt this is like...
But at the first meeting, did you take exchange numbers or?
No.
So just from the TV now, you're going to find where she was?
Yeah, so I had to find her. Her cousin was managing her called Samira Yakubu. She also manages Jackie Apia, of course.
Okay.
So I got a contact, told her that, look, I want your cousin to be my wife. She said, no, she's too young, and where she's coming from, you are going to break her heart. I said, no, this girl is like gold. It's like gold. She's well cultured, and she's an embodiment of everything that I dreamed of. I didn't think I'll get it in Accra. For beauty pageant, you get a lot from Accra, but not someone from. So I push, and one day I managed to get a date with her. And the first thing I told her is that I want you to be my wife. So there was nothing like courtship or... Because it's like, Charlie, one opportunity, you have to just go straight. And she felt, of course, later on she told me, I mean, that was too unusual, not even to, so I want you to be my girlfriend. I said, no. And I told her, look, I have a big dream. My dream is one day to lead this country and make a change. And I want somebody as strong as you, very ambitious, to be beside me. So that is why I said I want to marry you. And it took her some few weeks, and then later she agreed. And of course, then people heard and said all sort of things, that she was from the north, she's from a village, but you can see for yourself now. She's also a cabin crew. She's achieved so much for herself, looking at her background. And I can say that our background will definitely be a blessing to our children, and we should motivate them to aspire more. So we have similar story.
Isn't that a beautiful story? Isn't that a beautiful story? Determination and focus. Yeah.
So I believe anything that you want in life, if you really focus. So those of you who are trying to date some girl and you are not getting, Charlie, tell them the right thing. Don't go and be building castles in the air. Just tell them what is in your heart. I mean,
but even though you've been determined and focused, it hasn't come easy. But you just need to keep at it.
I just had to keep going. I mean, for a whole system to even prevent you from doing a program, people telling you right in your face that we are not going to allow you to do neurosurgery. I mean, with all that I went through in life,
wow.
I might be saying this for the first time, there were 2 attempts to assassinate me during the period of the strike action in this country.
Wow.
I have never mentioned it on any media platform.
Wow. Wow.
You know, but I feel God protected me and kept me for a reason. This same Korle-Bu where the dream to become a neurosurgeon started, I was on admission for 7 days in coma. I had a bad, you see a scar here. I had some substance like insect entering me and virtually killing me. And I survived it. So I feel God preserved me for a reason. And with all that beginning to unfold, I think probably God has a bigger plan for me, and I'm looking forward to it. There's a reason why 2 of my closest friends are not here, and I'm here today. If God didn't exist, no way I could have made it. You can't fight a force which is trying to prevent you from reading a program. You can't.
Wow.
You can't. And I want to encourage every young one who has a dream like mine. Just stay focused. And don't let poverty be a limitation to you. Just keep reading. Keep reading, and you may find teachers, you may find somebody like that woman who gave me her son's clothing. You may find people who will pay your fees, and just read. And that is what I tell my people in Nima, in Nwazungu, just keep reading. And today I'm happy. We have about 4 young doctors from Nwazungu, and like you, all of them are dreaming of specializing. All of them are dreaming of specializing. Some have already started.
They're lucky now they have a mentor.
Yeah. Yeah, and they know it's possible because they know my house. They know my house. Their mom tell them that I worked within the community with, you know, this pant which is sewn with African print. I worn it before. I did all sort of things within Nwazungu. So they are even privileged now. Now our parents believe in education. So they should be able to make it. And they are living the dream. They are really, really living the dream. They are, and every opportunity to speak to them when I come onto the media. I mean, and I always tell people that's like my joy moment, you know, and congratulations for 25 years. The first day I appeared on Joy FM when I was interviewed by Abdullah Hadi Mohammed, a lot of the people in Nwazungu listened. I needed to tell them I'm coming on TV, and people will switch on the TV and point to their kids. It made a difference. So for all those in communities such as mine, you should read yourself out of poverty. Just read. Just keep reading, and people will help you.
Wow, and today here we are, the best neurosurgeon student, doctor in West Africa. It does not get diametrically opposed than that. But those who have ears, I hope you have heard. Doc, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really a privilege to also have you. It's not everybody gets to host a chief like you, and a well-respected chief. And one day would also visit your kingdom.
That's very important. The Little Republic.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for watching, and until next weekend that I come to you with a different guest, next Friday, repeated on Sunday. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. And as usual, my shirt was given to me or was made by Tanti's Fashions. So contact Tanti's and get yourself a nice shirt. Thank you.